everyone, and welcome to Rebellious Unknown, where we make the unknown known. My name is Lynn Hurley, and I am here with you at least twice a week to discuss what is happening in this big, crazy world of ours. And if you like talking all things politics, please do join the rebellion by subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you always get notified whenever we have a new show coming up. I'm also going to start doing members-only shows starting in a week or two. We're going to try and do about 3 of them a week. So I really want you to feel like you're getting something out of your membership, and it'll give us a chance to talk about those things a little more in depth. So if you don't want to miss out on those, please consider joining us and becoming a member. So today, I'm so excited about today. So we're going to talk about, you guys have heard me mention the Trump trials, and we're going to talk about one of them in particular. But actually, we're going to be talking more about the prosecutor than we are Trump. And you may wonder, well, why is that? Because it's an interesting case. And it's the case out of Washington, D.C. with Judge Tanya Chutkan. And this is about the January 6th events. So there's quite a few indictments. We'll get into the specifics of the case just a little bit. In fact, we're just going to do an overview of the case. But there has recently been a filing with the Supreme Court by a former Attorney General. I believe he was Attorney General when Reagan was president, and 2 law professors talking about why they feel that not only is Jack Smith, who is the prosecutor, not only is his office not valid, but in fact, it might be illegal. And so we're going to go through that a little bit and see why is it that they think that. And then in doing my research for this, because I was like, who is this Jack Smith guy? We really don't know a whole heck of a lot about him. So I started doing some research and I found something of my own. And I haven't seen anyone else talk about this. And so I'm going to tell you what I found, and I'm going to tell you what I did with that information. So that will be towards the end of the show. So do not miss that because it's big. So anyways, let me say a quick hi to the people that are here right now. I saw Poner Houston was here bright and early this morning. Just stopped by to set up my lawn chair and ice down my soda water. Hope it did not wake you. You did not. I'm so glad that you got here early, sat up your seat so you could get a good view. Chris is here. Hey, Chris, how are you? From Mind Fork. She just put out a new video, so don't forget to go watch that when you're done here. Nathan, hi, everybody. Daytime shows have been fun. I've been missing out. Oh, I'm so glad that you are here. Let's see. Who do we have? Hey, Bradley, how's it going? Nice to see you. So glad that you were here. Oh, Mr. Hurley, my husband, Mr. Dave Hurley, who, yes, that wonderful music at the beginning was his. Those of you that are here probably know that because all of the music that I use on here is from Dave. Hey, Diane, how are you? So nice to see you. Let's see. Oh, Cindy's here too. Hey, Cindy. So nice to see you. Ronald, hi, how are you? I don't know if you're new here, but if you are, welcome, Ronald. So nice to see you here. All righty. I think if I missed anybody, I'm so sorry. I think that's who we have for now, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Everyone else can join us. Hopefully they join us later and don't miss. Oh, you're sort of new, Ronald. Okay, well, welcome. If I didn't say welcome to you before, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. So it's gonna be big news. So I hope they come and join us later. Okay, so let's do a very brief overview of the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play. Oh, Ronald, you watched the videos first time in live chat. Well, great. We're so glad to have you here. Okay, so I'm going to play when Jack Smith. Let me make sure I get this set up here. Jack Smith first announced the indictment, which was back on August 1st in 2023. I'm not sure if this was done on 2023, but his statement about it. Let me get this pulled up for you guys. Here we go. Okay, so he's going to talk about this, and let's just hear it from his own words or his own mouth.
Let's listen in.
I'm going to turn this up.
Good afternoon. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. This indictment was voted by a grand jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida, and I invite everyone to read it in full to understand the scope and the gravity of the crimes charged. The men and women of the United States intelligence community and our armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws that protect national defense information are critical to the safety and security of the United States, and they must be enforced. Violations of those laws put our country at risk. Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world. We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation. Nothing more and nothing less. The prosecutors in my office are among the most talented and experienced in the Department of Justice. They have investigated this case hewing to the highest ethical standards, and they will continue to do so as this case proceeds. It's very important for me to note that the defendants in this case must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. To that end, my office will seek a speedy trial in this matter, consistent with the public interest and the rights of the accused. We very much look forward to presenting our case to a jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida. In conclusion, I would like to thank the dedicated public servants of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with whom my office is conducting this investigation and who work tirelessly every day upholding the rule of law in our country. I'm deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me turn it on. Oh, yes, it was Special Counsel Jack Smith. So, not the most charismatic little fella, but there he is talking about the indictment and very briefly, obviously, just basically saying, we have one, we put it forward, this is what we're doing. And so there are a lot of places you can go to really look into this case, and I highly suggest that you do. One of my favorites, I know I've mentioned him before, Robert Gouveia, is fantastic. He's a lawyer. He's done many episodes where he's talked about this case and others, and he looks at it from a legal perspective and helps explain it. He gets into the legal jargon and really will help give you a good idea as to what it is, what it all means. But let me see if I can give you kind of a brief summary. So that was filed August 1st, 2023. There have been issues in this case with, first of all, the speed of the case. It was filed in August 1st, 2023. Then Judge Tanya Chutkin. So you know what? Let me just show you, because I'm going to show you the characters that we have at play here. So first of all, we all know Donnie T, right? Donald Trump. There he is. There he is. There's the man, the myth, the legend. Then we have Judge Tanya Chutkin. So she is the judge that's presiding over this case in the District of Columbia. And we have, as we just saw, our charming Jack Smith. So these are the players that are going on here. So let me take them down. Otherwise, they're going to be, not that I don't mind hanging out with them the whole time. So there was a speed issue. So Judge Chutkin decided that she set a hearing date for March 4th. Now you might say, well, everyone has a right to a speedy trial, right? And that is true. And that is usually in defense or that is set up for the defense, so that they're not left in jail for months on end, years on end. They say, okay, no, we're going to do a speedy trial. However, the evidence in this case, there are several factors that make this difficult, because the government is claiming that a lot of this is classified. And so there's still an ongoing battle of what the government is giving Trump and his lawyers to look at, and what they're saying, it's classified, you can't see it. Or they'll say, well, it's classified, and so we need to try to figure out the logistics of this, how you can see this information. But some of it they've outright said it's classified, it's sealed, you can't see it. So he can't even see some of the defense against him. And then it's the amount. There is something like, I think it's 10 million pages of documentation in this case, and they've equated it to 8 Washington monuments tall worth of paperwork that is evidence. And that's just the paperwork. We're not even talking about the media. And so they have all of the camera footage and everything, you know, Twitter, just videos, everything from that day or leading up to. Maybe we don't exactly know what all of the evidence is. But basically, they said if you watched all of it in real time, back to back, it would take about 10 years to go through the media. So 8 Washington monuments worth of paperwork plus about 10 years worth of media to watch. And Judge Chetkin went, yeah, 7 months. That sounds about right. I think you can get that done. And so Donald Trump's lawyers were like, excuse me, that sounds a bit crazy to me. And no, I think you can do it. This is what we're doing. And she even said, they were like, not sure if you realize, but there's an election coming up. He's the leading front runner for the Republican Party. She was just like, hey, not in my courtroom, mister. There is no election going on in my courtroom. So I don't care. I am not changing this date. She was very firm in this date. But they were stating this is not due to the election. This is nothing to do with the election. This is not politically motivated, right? Which of course is what Donald Trump has been saying all along. This is politically motivated. This is, the President Biden's Department of Justice is the one that's prosecuting me. And why did they wait until right before the election to start prosecuting me? They could have had 3 years to do it, and now they're just doing it. And why is there such a need for such a speedy trial? And so there's been a lot of kind of weirdness. There's also been the gags that Judge Chutkan put in place, basically stating that Donald Trump couldn't talk about. Initially, it was a much broader gag that he couldn't talk about anybody in the case, any of the court staff, any of the prosecutors, the Jack Smith, or any of his team. I can't remember if she originally said he could talk about her or not. I couldn't talk about the DC area and the Department of Justice within the DC area. It was a very, very broad gag order. And so that did get appealed, and she came back and said, well, okay, fine. You can talk about the District of Columbia. You can talk about DC, and you can talk about Jack Smith. And I think she said he could talk about her. But that was it. That's it. Nothing else. So, and one of the biggest parts of that gag order was that he wasn't allowed to talk about any foreseeable future or foreseeable witness to the case. Now, this is the J6 case. So that could be thousands of people. And at that time, Mike Pence was still running for president. So one of his political opponents, he couldn't even discuss. So, and he still can't discuss a lot of the people in the political arena because they may be witnesses, because there is no witness list that has been provided yet. So we don't even know who the witnesses are. So even though they've said, oh, no, they're very restrictive limitations on what he can or cannot say. It's not, we're not trying to get in the way of his, First Amendment, interrupt the core political speech kind of issue. No. It's very limited. It is not very limited at all. Not even close. Not even close. And so then his lawyers brought up the case of double jeopardy and presidential immunity. And you've probably heard about these things. They've talked about it in the news. Presidential immunity. The news likes to say that Trump is saying he has absolute immunity for everything he's ever done. That is not the case. He's saying he has immunity for all his presidential acts, his official presidential acts. Now, I may be wrong, but I'm not. But I'm pretty sure that trying to make sure that a federal election isn't rigged should be well within the scope of presidential duties. They're claiming, well, he said it as a candidate, but he was still president at the time. So I say it falls within his presidential duties. That is one of the big questions. The other one is double jeopardy. So he was already impeached by Congress, and he was acquitted. He was found not to be an insurrectionist. So now by having this trial, are they then trying him for something he's already been tried for? Yes, is the answer. Yes, they are. So, okay. That's kind of the brief overview. So right now, the case is he has brought it up to the District Court of Appeals, the DC District Court of Appeals, about the presidential immunity and the double jeopardy issues. Now, in this last month, Jack Smith says, okay, yeah, I know. He's been pressing. We need to continue on. We need to continue on. And Trump's lawyers were like, no, 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 nay, nay, sir. We do not. This is in the Court of Appeals right now. We're waiting to hear from them. We need to go through that process before we continue with the rest of the trial. You can't have, there's already been a District of Columbia court ruling stating you can't have the district court case and the appeals case going at the same time. It creates confusion and excess work for everybody. And so what did Jack Smith do? He went running over to SCOTUS and he said, Supreme Court, hello. I would like you to hear this. I know it's pending right now in the District Court of Appeals, but we're just gonna like scoot that along, and we really want you to hear it. And he said, based on such and such a reasoning, I think that you should be able to hear it. And Supreme Court said, no, sir, wait your turn. That is not happening. We're going to wait and see what the District Court of Appeals does first. Then you can bring it up to us if you're still not happy. So that was great. And the reason that Jack Smith wanted to do that, and the reason he cited, was because there was already a date set for this trial to begin on March 4th. And so in order to keep that date, which is already set, I mean, that date, we need to get this figured out. We need to determine whether or not we can even proceed with this case. So that's why you, Supreme Court, really should make this decision right now. And let's just hop over the Court of Appeals. So they were like, no, not good enough reason. Sorry. And the reason he was doing that is because, so November 4th is the day before Super Tuesday. So he's trying to get the trial going prior to most of the primaries. He's trying to really they want to get this trial done before November, before the election, because they know he is the front runner. And so that's why they're such a stickler about the date. There's no other reason whatsoever. Now, of course, all along they've been like, no, that's not it. That is it. That is it, people. There's no other reason. No other reason. Okay, so that is kind of a very brief summary of what's going on. There's been a lot. There's been a lot that's been very questionable about this case, a lot. So like I said, if you're interested in it at all, I highly recommend look it up, read it. It's great. But while this case was brought up to the Supreme Court, we had an interesting turn of events. Let me pull this up. Yep. Okay. Let me just make sure I got the right one. So we have. Where are we? Is this the one we want? Nope. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. I think this is it. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Let me make sure you guys are looking the same thing. Okay. And let me change this so you can see it bigger. Here we go. Okay. So this also got filed with the Supreme Court of the United States. And it's a petition for a writ of certiorari before judgment to the United States Court of Appeals, i.e. Supreme Court. And it's a brief of former Attorney General Edwin Meese III and law professors Stephen G. Calabresi and Gary S. Lawson as amici curiae, supporting neither party. So they're basically coming in and saying, we're giving you our thoughts on this. We wanted to step in and say, this is something we've noticed and we found. We wanted to bring it to your attention, but we're not here on behalf of either party in the case. So the question they presented was whether private citizen, note private citizen, not special prosecutor, private citizen Jack Smith lacks authority to represent the United States, which jurisdictional requirement must exist at all stages of litigation and which cannot be waived in filing his petition for a writ of certiorari in this court. Okay, so we're going to skip through the table of contents and let's just get to the meat of this. Introduction. This court should reject Mr. Smith's request for certiorari before judgment for the simple reason that he lacks authority to ask for it, nor does he have authority to conduct the underlying prosecution. Wonder why that is. Those actions can be taken only by persons properly appointed as federal officers to properly created federal offices. Okay. This is important. Neither Smith nor the position of special counsel under which he purportedly acts meets those criteria. And that's a serious problem for the American rule of law. Whatever one may think of the defendant or the conduct at issue in the underlying prosecution. So they're like, this doesn't have anything to do with Trump. We're looking right now at whether or not his position, Jack Smith's position, is legal. And they're saying basically Attorney General Merrick put a brief out stating that Jack Smith was appointed as special counsel on November 18th, 2022. Just kind of getting into that. And these are the things that General Merrick, he cited these specific things, saying these statutes saying this is the authority that I have to appoint him into this position. But these lawyers are arguing none of those statutes nor any statutory or constitutional provisions remotely authorize the appointment by the Attorney General of a private citizen to receive extraordinary criminal law enforcement power under the title of special counsel. Now, you might be thinking, well, why are they saying private citizen? First, the Appointments Clause requires that all federal offices not otherwise provided for in the U.S. Constitution must be established by law. So basically, Congress must create this office, is what that's saying. Second, even if one overlooks the absence of statutory authority for the position, there is no statute specifically authorizing the Attorney General rather than the President, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to appoint such a counsel under the Appointment Clause. Inferior officers can be appointed by department heads only if Congress so directs by statute. See U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. And so directs specifically enough to overcome a clear statement presumption in favor of presidential appointment and senatorial confirmation. No such statute exists for the special counsel. Third, the special counsel is a valid officer, is a superior or principal rather than inferior officer, and thus cannot be appointed by any means other than presidential appointment and senatorial confirmation, regardless of what any statutes purport to say. This is true as a matter of original meaning this is what is said in the Constitution, and it is even true as a matter of case law once one understands that neither Morrison versus Olson nor Edmund versus United States, so these were two things that Merrick talked about to say that this is why he could use them, can plausibly be read to say that any person who is any fashion subordinate to another executive official other than the president is an inferior officer. Such a reading of those decisions leads to the ludicrous result that there is only one non-inferior officer in every executive department. To be sure, there are times when the appointment of special counsel is appropriate. Okay, and so they're going to go through some of these things. What the federal statutes and the Constitution do not allow for, however, is for the Attorney General to appoint a private citizen who has never been confirmed by the United States as a substitute U.S. attorney under the special counsel. That is what happened on November 18th, 2022. So what they're saying is Jack Smith is not a U.S. attorney. He was not, like how each state has a U.S. attorney. So the Ohio Attorney General or the Florida Attorney General, those are United States attorneys. So Jack Smith was not one of those. In fact, he worked for international courts before he was brought back over here to do this. That appointment was unlawful and are all the legal actions that have flowed from it, including Citizen Smith's current attempt to obtain a ruling from this court. So they're saying the appointment was unlawful, therefore he has no jurisdiction to proceed with any of this. Given their interest in the rule of law, the legal issue addressed in this brief is of particular importance to amici. The Honorable Edwin Meese III served as the 75th Attorney General of the United States after having served as counselor to the President and is now the Ronald Reagan Distinguished Fellow Emeritus. Okay, so we're going to go through everybody's his background. So reasons for denying this petition: no statute authorizes the position of special counsel held by Smith. In our constitutional system, Congress alone has the authority to create federal offices, not established by the constitutions. And the Attorney General cannot, on his own, just create offices as he sees fit. nor has Congress given the Attorney General power to appoint a special counsel of this nature. Thus, without legal office, Smith cannot wield the authority of the United States, including his present attempt to seek relief in this court. And only Congress can create a federal office. So the Attorney General doesn't have the power to create a federal office. Um, the organic statutes of the Department of Justice do not, by law, vest in the Attorney General of the officer the power to appoint officers with the power of supposed Special Counsel Smith. So they're saying not only is this office not valid, but he certainly isn't. The Attorney General certainly doesn't have the ability to appoint an officer with this power. The power over the president is what they're giving him, kind of this unlimited power. A DOJ's current structure, as provided by statute, includes an attorney general, a deputy attorney general, associate attorney general, solicitor general, 11 assistant attorney generals, and 1 U.S. attorney for each judicial district. And they go, okay, this is the makeup of it. This list does not include the more than 100,000 people who work in the DOJ. The vast majority of federal workers, including those who work the DOJ, are not officers. They are employees whose appointments are not controlled by the Appointments Clause, meaning that the DOJ can hire them. They don't have to be by presidential appointment and then confirmed by the Senate. So then here they're talking about the Janet Reno, how she had created a, where is it? Not controlled by the appointment. Where is it? Janet Reno established something that they're saying was questionable as to its constitutionality as well, about appointing a Attorney General Reno promulgated regulations which, if valid, are still in force today, providing for an office of special counsel. Under those regulations, the Attorney General may, in some circumstances, appoint an outside special counsel to assume responsibility for the matter. The regulations clarify that outside counsel means someone from outside the United States government. The Reno regulations, like the independent counsel statute, contemplate appointment as a putative inferior officer of non-governmental official to an office that is fully equivalent of a United States attorney. But regulations are not the kind of law that can establish a federal office. So they're saying, so even though Janet Reno created this regulation, it's not a law. It doesn't fall under the same category. Only a statute can do that under the Appointments Clause, and no statute creates a special counsel with the jurisdiction and authority that Jack Smith is now wielding. Then they talk about the authority that Janet Reno cited in creating these regulations. And that General Garland cited this and the Reno regulations. To be sure, sections 1515A and 1515B both assume they are going to be attorneys specially appointed by the Attorney General under law and specially retained under the authority of the Department of Justice, and indeed an explicit provision elsewhere in Title 28, Section 543, authorize the Attorney General to hire such persons who can then be denominated and commissioned as special assistants or special attorneys under Section 515B, but these provisions offer no authority to create offices. So they're still saying, so basically the Attorney General doesn't have the power to create offices. He can appoint people within the Department of Justice, but he can't create offices himself. The problem for the government in the case of the Reno regulations and the Smith appointment is that those regulations and the Smith appointment order do not contemplate special counsels who assist U.S. attorneys. Instead, they contemplate special counsels who replace U.S. attorneys in specific cases. Smith, for example, was not appointed to assist a U.S. attorney. He was hired as a powerful standalone officer who replaces rather than assists the functions of the United States attorneys within the scope of his jurisdiction. This is precisely the role that the Ethics in Government Act authorized for independent counsels, but that statute no longer exists And in the absence of that statute or a similar one, there is simply no statutory office of special counsel to which Smith could be appointed to function as a stand in for a U.S. attorney. The remainder of Title 28 confirms this conclusion. Um, the Attorney General, so this is from, what was this, Section 533 of Title 28. The Attorney General may appoint officials, one, to detect and prosecute crimes against the United States, two, to assist in the protection of the person of the President, and three, to assist in the protection of the person of the Attorney General, and four, to conduct such other investigations regarding official matters under the control of the Department of Justice and the Department of State as may be directed by the Attorney General. But Section 533(1) is not a general authorization to the Attorney General to appoint officers. So they give you some more reasoning as to why that is. But basically, they're saying that only Congress can create offices, and anybody who wields the power that Jack Smith does can only do so by presidential appointment and then be confirmed by the Senate, which Jack Smith was not. The appointment clause establishes a default rule that all heads of departments, principal officers, and superior officers, presidential nomination, Senate confirmation, and then presidential appointment. So that's, again, what I was saying. He needed to have presidential nomination, appointment, and Senate confirmation, which Jack Smith did not. And even if special counsels were statutorily authorized, they would be superior officers who would need presidential appointment and state confirmation. So they go and give you more reasoning and more proof to back up this claim. So, in conclusion, not clothed in the authority of the federal government, Smith is a modern example of the naked emperor. Improperly appointed, he has no more authority to represent the United States in this court than Bryce Harper, Taylor Swift, or Jeff Bezos. I like the examples they used. The fact that is sufficient to sink Smith's petition, and the court should deny review. We express no views on the merits issues addressed in Smith's unauthorized petition. Respectfully submitted, Gene Scheer, Justin Miller, and others. So basically, they're saying he has no legal standing here. He doesn't have the jurisdiction to even pursue this. So you should not accept his request to the Supreme Court to kind of rush this through and make a determination, because he doesn't even have the jurisdiction to ask you to do that. Now, the Supreme Court did deny Jack Smith's request. However, they never said exactly why. They just said, nope, it's denied. Denied. Sorry. And that was it. And that was pretty fun. So that was great to see. So it's interesting, right? So now we have this question, is his office even legal? And they showed that there is legal standing to say, no, his office isn't legal. It was not legally created, and he was not legally appointed, because someone with his power should have been by presidential appointment and confirmed by the Senate, neither of which happened with Jack Smith. Interesting. Okay. So is this even a legal case? I don't know. We still have to wait and see. Because like I said, the Supreme Court didn't weigh on that one way or the other. I don't know that I haven't heard that they have said anything in response to it. So it'll be interesting to see. So we're waiting to see what the DC District Court comes back with on the appeal to them. But that is only with regards to the presidential immunity and double jeopardy. So yes, Ronald is correct. This trial is a bunch of firsts. It really is. Yeah. It really is. It's a really, really interesting case. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Supreme Court, since literally everything is going to the Supreme Court. Yeah, I mean, they are basically, by denying it, I think they're saying, you got to go through the proper channels first. We're not rushing this because you want it to go forward on the trial date that it's already set at. That's not a reason to rush something through to the Supreme Court. And now it's interesting because you see a lot of news networks that even before were like, oh, Trump is sitting there saying this is politically motivated. This is not the case, blah, 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 blah. But with the Supreme Court stunt, you see those same news organizations going, it might be politically motivated because the only reason anybody can think of that he would want this to be done on, or the trial to start on March 4th, is because of the election. And I have one to show you. So let me pull this up and let's hear what they have to say about it.
Ellie, from Jack Smith's perspective, is this political or is this now legal as well? The very issue that you and I together have framed.
Yeah, so Jack Smith already was, I think, paying the price in terms of his credibility and politically for his obvious failure to say what's really going on here, which is he wants to try the case before the election. Now he's paying a price legally in the courts. And here's why, Michael. Jack Smith was asking the Supreme Court to take the case direct from the district court. That's a rare proceeding. It's not never done, but it's rarely done. But as such, Jack Smith legally bore the burden of proving two things. One, the case was very important. That part was easy. That part was uncontested. Of course, this case is very important. But number two is that there's a specific need to expedite, a specific need for speed. And because Jack Smith remains stubbornly unwilling to say, I want to try this case before the election, instead, in both of his briefs, his first brief and then his reply brief, he's just left with this sort of mealy-mouthed gibberish where he says, well, delay is bad and speed is good, utmost importance and that kind of thing. And Donald Trump's team seized on that. They said he has failed. He has failed to meet his legal burden to give a specific reason why expedition is necessary. And we don't know exactly why he lost. We got a one-line ruling out of the Supreme Court, but they denied him.
Ellie, what would it sound like? How would Jack Smith explain it if he were to follow the advice that you just offered?
Yeah, it's a tough position because in the prosecutorial platonic ideal, Jack Smith would not be thinking about the election date at all, because to consider the election date violates longstanding DOJ policy and practice, written and unwritten. But given the obvious reality, which any common sense person can see, that he is thinking about the election date, my advice would be, and he can take this or leave this, admit it. Let's just drop the subterfuge and the artifice. Let's just say what everybody knows you're doing. And I think the most palatable way to phrase that, the least political way, is to say if Donald Trump gets elected under longstanding DOJ policy, he can't be tried. And that means we would have this trial put on hold for 4 years until January of 2029, at which point we would lose witnesses, we would lose evidence. I mean, a 4-year delay, it makes it really unpalatable to try a case in 2029. So I think if given the position Jack Smith has put himself in, he should just acknowledge it and he should phrase it in terms of legitimate DOJ prerogatives.
Okay, my belief is he is guided by a fear that then next week in Des Moines.
Okay, so there we go. So other people are seeing it. They're saying, yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious what is happening here. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to look into Jack Smith and say, well, who is this Jack Smith character and what do we know about him? And so I started in the place where I often start, which is I did a FOIA request, or I did a FOIA search. I didn't do a FOIA request. I did an online FOIA search for Jack Smith to see what it was that I could find out about Jack Smith. And I found something. And this is where I'm saying I found something that I think it's kind of a bombshell. And I'll tell you what I did with this information, but let me show it to you first. Okay, so let me just make sure we got this up here. Okay, I want to make sure you guys can see it. So I found this, and it was just a memorandum for the record. It didn't look like anything special in the list. If you've done an online FOIA search, you know it comes up with a million different things. And I was just looking through them all and happened to find this one and luckily happened to read through it. It was from the U.S. Department of Justice, memorandum for the record. Subject, oath of office, John L. Smith, Jack Smith. This memorandum serves as a record that appointment affidavit SF-61 has been signed and executed for the appointment of John L. Smith, Special Counsel, on November 18, 2022. John L. Smith was appointed by Attorney General Merrick B. Garland to serve as Special Counsel by Order Number 5559-2022. Okay, sounds great, right? But here's the discussion. Mr. Smith signed an SF-61 on November 20th, 2022. Upon reviewing documentation, it was discovered that a witness signature was missing, more than likely as Mr. Smith was onboarded while overseas. JMD Human Resources consulted with the Office of General Counsel to ensure proper corrective action. OGC's recommendation and advice was to re-administer the oath of office and execute a new SF-61 to ensure procedural compliance. Okay, sure thing. So they have the appointment of affidavits. So this was the order that General Merrick put out about the appointment of Jack Smith, and that was on November 18th, 2022. This is the original one that they were referring to, Special Counsel 11/18/2022, Department of Justice, John L. Smith. There's the oath of office, the affidavit, and they have Jack Smith's signature right here, November 20th, 2022. And this is the part they're talking about here. This signature of officer, I know it's a bit dark, but signature of officer, it says subscribed and sworn or affirmed before me this 20th day of November 2022, but there's no one signed it, right? There's no seal, there's no sign, there's nothing. So they needed to redo it. That's what the lawyers that they asked about this. They said, yeah, you need to, their recommendation, the Office of General Counsel, was to re-administer the oath of office and execute a new SF-61 to ensure procedural compliance. Okay. So I went down and I looked and I said, okay, yeah, Special Counsel 11/18/2022, John Luman Smith, oath of office, affidavit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Jack Smith's signature. Okay, looks like they get a witness this time. Not sure who that is. Washington, D.C., sworn before me, subscribed and sworn or affirmed before me this 14th day of September 2023. Wait a second. This is what I'm thinking to myself. Okay, so keep that in mind. September 14th, 2023. Now we're going to look at something else. But keep that date in mind. Yep, here we go. This is the original indictment for United States versus Donald Trump, which was filed August 1st, 2023. So if that was filed August 1st of 2023, but let's go back again. Jack Smith wasn't re-administered the oath and signed until September 14th, 2023. That's a month and a half or so after he filed the indictment. Isn't that interesting? So, not only is his whole position and his whole office potentially not even constitutionally valid, he wasn't ever reaffirmed and re-signed until a month and a half after he filed the indictment. So, indeed. So I was just kind of like, is this for real here? So I had to go take this to my husband. I'm like, you're seeing this too, right? The dates don't add up. He wasn't re-administered the oath of office and reaffirmed until a month and a half after he already filed the indictment. Is the indictment even legal at this point? Snoopy saying no seal either. Yeah, sometimes depending on, I used to be a notary. Sometimes it's required, sometimes it isn't. It depends on the paperwork. But the dates, he was not re-administered the oath until September 14th, 2023. Now, somebody may say, well, that's just paperwork. But it's not just paperwork, because the Office of General Counsel felt that it was important enough that they needed to re-administer the oath, right? Because this is what they said. Okay. The Office of General Counsel, to ensure proper corrective action, recommended, and their advice was to re-administer the oath of office, which means that the original one was not valid. Otherwise, they would not need to re-administer it, and execute a new SF-61 to ensure procedural compliance. So their own lawyers are saying, yeah, you need to redo that. What? So So the indictment, yes, Nathan is getting it. The indictment may not be at all valid because if his office, well, first of all, his office may not even be constitutionally valid based on the other memorandum that we read, but like his appointment wasn't even official until a month and a half after he filed the indictment. What? So, what did I do? What did I do? I said, well, isn't that just interesting? So I may have emailed John Lauro, who is one of the head lawyers on the J6 case for Trump, and said, Dear Mr. Lauro, I found an interesting little tidbit that might be helpful in your case. And explained out what I did, what I found, sent him the attachment. So he had the original affidavit that was signed in November of 2022, the appointment by General Merrick in November 2022, the memorandum that said, yeah, you need to redo this, and the additional one that was signed, reaffirmed and signed in September of 2023. And so I was like, just thought you might like this. He got back to me within 4 minutes and said, yes, thanks, we are on it. And that was it. And I wasn't expecting anything more than that because he's a lawyer and, he's obviously got to be careful about everything he says or puts in writing. I used to work for a lawyer. They're very specific and they're very careful about that type of thing. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. So now every day I'm checking. Like, is there something? Now I'm assuming, I don't know if they're going to need to wait until the appeals court makes their decision, because if the whole issue with presidential immunity or double jeopardy comes back anyways, and they say, yeah, this case isn't even valid, then they may not need to, though, of course, I'm sure Jack Smith would then take to the Supreme Court. And at that point, maybe they would do something. But I'm assuming they would just do a motion to dismiss based on whatever statutory grounds that they will list out. But, just lack of jurisdiction. I don't even know. But yeah, 4 minutes. The congressman, yes, Jim Jordan. I know. I'm going to get a hold of Jim too. I'm going to try to, at least. I was trying to that same day, but I think I need to call his office because they wouldn't let me do an email. It said, like, if you're not within his district, which I guess technically I am not in his district, but he does, head up the Judiciary Committee. So, and he is already looking into Jack Smith. So they've sent, I think, Jack Smith like 3 or 4 letters. I want to say 4 letters already saying, hey, we're looking into this prosecution and we'd like this information from you. And Jack Smith hasn't responded to any of them. So yeah, I'm going to give them a call and say, hey, just FYI, I found this little tidbit, might be helpful for you. But yeah, 4 minutes. It is a very important fact, right? Because if he wasn't even re-administered the oath of office until a month and a half after he filed the indictment, that's a problem. So Chris says, hey, Jimmy, I love Jim Jordan. I love him. He's awesome. So yes, that was my bombshell. I kind of couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, what is happening here? So we shall see. I'm going to keep my eyes out. You guys keep your eyes and ears out. If you hear anything, please let me know. But I can't wait to see what comes of this, because this might just completely eviscerate the entire trial, which would be kind of awesome. So yeah, that is it. So that was my finding, and I hope that it gets out there, and I hope that people find out about it, and I hope that his lawyers do something if they need to. They have it in their back pocket, and I hope they use it, because that would be amazing. Is this a case of the best indictment is a good preemptive indictment? Just a legal indictment, maybe. It could change everything. Think of what else could not be right. That's true. That is true. Because the only people that knew about it, because like I said, I went online, I looked, is anybody else even talking about this? Has anybody said anything about this? And I couldn't find anything. The only people that knew about it were the people from the Department of Justice who wrote the memorandum, and clearly Jack Smith, because he had to have his re-administration of his oath and re-sign it and Merrick Garland. So they knew, but I don't know that anybody else knew. I haven't seen anything anywhere about it. So, yeah. Chris, troublemaker, and I dig it until I have to pay for bail. Hey, I didn't do anything illegal. These were all public documents. All I did was a FOIA search, and then I handed over these public documents. So the public, they were not classified documents. They were out there. It's just like I said, if you looked for them, let me show you guys. I think I have it. Hold on, let me find it. I saved the page where the search was because where was it? Hold on a second. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay. Because if you were just looking, you wouldn't probably even notice it, which is maybe why nobody ever found it. So this is the page right here. Make sure that's put. Yeah, okay. So this is the FOIA search, right? That I did. And this is how, if you've never seen them, this is what it looks like when you pull up your results. And it's this right here, memorandum for the record. On November 18th, John L. Smith was appointed by Attorney General Merrick B. Garland to serve as a special counsel by order number blah, 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 blah. So you wouldn't think anything of it, right? I just happened to click on it and read it. So nothing about this would have stood out if somebody was doing research. They would just be like, oh, okay, whatever. It's just the memo about his appointment. Wouldn't think anything of it. But because I just happened to click on it and view it and read it and then look at the dates, I realized, I was like, oh, wow, that is a lot more than what it looked like it was going to be. So, yep. If you saw it and no one else did, someone's not doing their job. They need you, Lynn. I am hireable. So, I hope that it helps. I was happy to pass it along. So, because what is going on right now, and this is why I say, if you guys haven't read or haven't looked at this case, it's definitely an interesting one to look at. There are a lot of legal firsts that are going on here, and there are some, things that are questionably legal that are going on with this case. So I don't know if I can help. I don't like injustice. So if I see that going on and I'm going, wait a second. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I did go to school to be a paralegal, and I have worked for a lawyer, and a lot of the stuff in this case is very fishy. So I was like, no, I'm going to pass this info along because, like I said, I didn't see anybody else talking about it. So that is it. I thought it was exciting. I hope you guys find it exciting. We shall see. Like I said, if you hear anything, see anything, please feel free to let me know. I'm going to keep my eye out as well. And if I hear anything, I will let you guys know. If I see any, court filings about it or anything else, then I will definitely let you go or let you know. And it certainly isn't election interference. Hey. Yes, Snoopy saying Jim Jordan has wondered if Jack was legal all along. Jim is a smart cookie. Man, he is awesome. So anyway, yeah, so that's my big finding, and I'm very excited. I hope you guys are as excited by it as I am. I thought it was pretty crazy and wanted to put it out there and share it with you. So yeah, within 4 minutes, I heard back from John Lauro. So yep. Oh, thanks. Super stoked you caught it live. I'm glad that you did too. Thank you, SoCal Squatcher. And hi, I haven't said hi to you yet. Hi, Snoopy. Hi, Hides and Longsgrass. Sorry, guys, I haven't said hi to you because we were just talking about this craziness. It was literally, my brain was literally like, when I saw it and I like processed what I was actually seeing. It was pretty exciting. So I hope that they are able to use it to somehow get the case dismissed, because that would be amazing. So that is it, guys. We will definitely be doing some shows next week. I've been so focused on this that I haven't figured out what we're doing next week yet, but we will do some shows next week. So Monday is New Year's, right? New Year's Day. So we probably will do, I'm going to try and get 2 more shows in next week. I will definitely let you guys know what those are going to be. And then I think the week after that is when I'm going to start doing the members only shows. So ultimately what I would like to do is I will be doing 2 shows a week. 2 just regular shows a week, and then we will have 3 members only shows, possibly in the mornings. We'll see. My schedule is still a little bit in flux with my daughters. So we'll see how that's going. But so ultimately, I would like to do maybe 3 member shows a week, members only shows a week. So if you guys do want to catch those, please feel free to join us, become a member. We would love to have you there. We will be able to chat a little more there on that one. And we'll kind of check out what's going on in the news and just be able to talk about maybe some of these things a little more in depth and be able to do kind of like some chatting a little bit more. Let me just see if anybody has, I don't think there's any questions, because I think even though to me it's a big, huge like find, it's pretty cut and dry. So I don't think there's any, it didn't seem like anybody had any questions. So, all right, I am going to take you guys out with another, got the link for membership. Should be right on. Let me look and see really quick. I think it should be right at the bottom of the chat, right? Or am I wrong? Let me look. Let me pull it up. Membership. Well, I don't know where it is right off the top of my head right now, but I will find it and I can put it in the description. So anybody who wants to can become a member, because we'd love to have you guys there. So like I said, in about, not next week, but the week after is when we'll start doing the members only videos. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Happy New Year's. Stay safe, but have fun. And that's okay, Chris. I will find it and put it in the description. So hope you guys are having a great time. And I'm going to play us out with some Dave Hurley. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Something's new now behind your eyes. Feel it left behind. I wanna know. Inside the light, I'll watch the world play. In between the veils, I'd like to stay. Your crazed dark skies, something's new now behind your eyes. Feeling left behind. I wanna know. I'll tell you that wash my fears away, chase the life I dream, and there'll be much more to show, and I will never know the darker side of me. I wanna know, I wanna know, I'll learn it all tonight. Fade away. The only time life mattered is our fate. I'll tell you that I need a longer day to wash my fears away, chase the life I dream. There'll be much more darker side of me. I need a longer day to wash my fears away, chase the life I dream. There'll be much more to show, and I will never know the darker side of me.